Okay, guys, 5 more Hall of Famers. Going to start with an all-time great, Mr. Mickey Mantle, known as nicknamed the Mick or the Commerce Comet from being from Commerce, Oklahoma. 3-time MVP, 1956, 1957, and 1962. 20-time All-Star, 1956 Triple Crown. 7-time World Series, a Gold Glove, 1956 batting title, lifetime .298 batting average, 536 home runs, 2,415 hits. Considered the greatest switch hitter of all time. Second highest OPS of all center fielders in history behind Mike Trout. That's a calculation of getting on base and hitting for power. He's a career leader in walk-off home runs with 13. He's tied with Jim Thome with 13 walk-off home runs. Named after baseball player Mickey Cochran, Hall of Fame catcher. He said he was glad his dad named him that. He said he's glad his dad didn't know Mickey's real name of Gordon. Or this could be Gordon Mantle, you know. Received a halfback scholarship for the University of Oklahoma and played there until sophomore. During a practice game, he got kicked in the shin and contracted osteomyelitis, which 2 years before that was incurable, and that's an infection of the bone. So his parents drove him at midnight to Oklahoma City Children's Hospital, and he got a shot of penicillin, which kept him from having his leg amputated. His rookie season, they knew he was going to be an all-star. They knew he was going to be an all-time great. They gave him number 6 as a rookie. So you had Ruth 3, Gehrig 4, DiMaggio 5, and they gave Mantle 6. He kind of struggled the next year, and they sent him down to the minor leagues, and he came back with number 7. And I looked into that. I thought, well, who ended up with number 6? And it was a player named Andy Carey. He started out with 54 in 1952, and then his number switched later on that year from 54 to 6. So I'm not sure if they sent Mantle down that year. They did send him down to the minors. He was struggling a little bit, wanted to quit, and his dad, talked him into sticking around. But Mantle was number 6, was sent down to the minors and come back as 7, and then Carey switched from 54 to 6 that year. So I don't know if Carey wanted the number or the Yankees thought he was going to be the next great, but somehow during that season, Mantle went from 6 to the minors and came back as 7, and Andy Carey went from 54 to 6. So wish I knew more about that story. Anybody knows more of that story, let me know. All right, moving on. Another all-time great, Mr. Frank Robinson. Oh, by the way, let's go back to Mr. Mickey Mantle. Lifetime WAR of 110 ranks him 21st all-time. Ahead of players Frank Robinson, Albert Pujols, and Carl Yastrzemski. Then we'll move on. Next player, Frank Robinson. He has a lifetime WAR of 107.2, which ranks him 23rd all-time, ahead of players like Napoleon Lajoie, Mike Schmidt, and Eddie Matthews. 2-time MVP in 61 and 66, 1956 Rookie of the Year, 1966 Triple Crown, and we'll get back to more of this 1966 season here in a minute. Gold Glove, 14-time All-Star, World Series MVP, All-Star MVP, and 1989 Manager of the Year. He had 586 home runs, lifetime .294 batting average, 2,943 hits, 1,812 RBIs, and 204 stolen bases. The only player to win MVP in both leagues. Played basketball in high school and was teammates in high school with Bill Russell. And on his high school baseball team, he was teammates with Vada Pinson and Kurt Flood. Was known as a fierce player. In 1957, he spiked Johnny Logan and he missed a couple weeks. And then in 1960, he got in a fist fight with Eddie Matthews. Reds owner Bill DeWitt traded him from the Reds to the Orioles in 1966. I told you we'd get back to this more. Bill DeWitt traded him for Milt Pappas, Jack Baldwin, and Dick Simpson. I've heard of Milt Pappas, but the other guys I haven't heard of. In 1966 for the Orioles won the World Series that year. Frank Robinson won the MVP and the Triple Crown. So when Bill DeWitt traded him, said he was not a young 30. He was 30 years old. He said he wasn't a young 30. So he was trying to, hedge his bet. And he said they really needed pitching, but guess what? The Orioles won the World Series that year. First black manager in baseball, won the 2005 Presidential Medal of Freedom. Still holds the record for opening day home runs with 8. Frank Robinson. Next, Monte Irvin. In his 1955 Topps. He had a 32.1 WAR, but he spent a lot of time in the Negro League, didn't really get to play his whole career in the majors, so that really don't count. 7-time All-Star, 2-time batting title, 2-time World Series, 305 batting average, 1,065 hits, 687 RBIs, and 137 home runs. He was a standout college football player at Lincoln University. He got a scholarship to play football for Michigan, but he didn't have enough money to move to Ann Arbor. Spent 1943, 44, and 45 in the military. Was in the Battle of the Bulge. Won the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award in 2013 for World War II heroics. In high school, he played 4 different sports and won 16 varsity letters. Won the Triple Crown in the Mexican Baseball League in 1942. MVP in the Puerto Rican League in 44 and 45. Lifetime .358 batting average in the Negro League and .397 batting average in the Mexican League. Monte Irvin. Next, Vlad the Impaler. Vladimir Gurerrero, lifetime 59.5 WAR, ranks him 193rd all time, ahead of players like Yogi Berra, Willie Stargell, and George Sisler. 2004 MVP, 9-time All-Star, Home Run Derby champion, 8-time Silver Slugger, .318 batting average, 449 home runs, 1,496 RBIs, 2,590 hits. Was known for a strong throwing arm in the outfield and batting with no batting gloves on. And he was also known as a bad ball hitter. He could make contact with the ball anywhere. Hit 126 of his home runs off the first pitch of the at-bat. He and his son became the second father-son duo with 40 home runs in a season. Prince and Cecil Fielder were the other. Came from very humble background. He didn't own a baseball glove until he was 15 years old. The house he grew up in was the walls were made of mud and had palm leaf roof. So he really turned it around. Batted, had a 44-game hitting streak against the Rangers from 2004 to 2006. So that was kind of a neat stat. Vladimir Gurerrero. And next, a guy that I've pronounced his name incorrectly. It's Cuyler. I always called him KiKi, but by reading some of the history, I believe it was pronounced Cuyler. And the reason, there's two different reasons for this nickname, and nobody really knows the exact reason. But when a fly ball was hit to him in the outfield, the shortstop would yell "Kai" for him to, be on the alert. But he also stuttered, so they didn't know if. Some people say that he got his name for the way he would say his name, Cuyler, stuttering. He's lifetime 47.9 WAR, 347th all time, ahead of Jim Rice and King Kelly. He's an all-star, won the 1925 World Series, 2,299 hits, 321 batting average, 128 home runs, 1,065 RBIs, and 328 stolen bases. His 26 triples in 1925 is the second most in a season since 1900. Cuyler. Thanks, guys.